What's up, bro?
What's happening, man?
How are you?
I'm doing good.
So, yeah, man. So we met a couple months back, maybe a year ago. It's been a while. And really don't know that much about you other than you have some stuff going on, and you seem to be super excited about it, and you have a lot of stuff to talk about. So I was like, man, this seems like a great guy to sit down and talk to. So let's jump into it, bro. First off, tell me about you.
Well, so I think you're one of the only people that I know that got their hands as many things as I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, in the way we are now, we have to have so many different avenues. You have to have this, and this. I have a full-time job where I travel across the United States, and then I have, I'm a senior technical advisor for an armor company, and I own a tactical company. So I'm kind of like you. You've got to put your hands in everything now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't go to Walmart anymore and spend $20, man.
No, yeah. I mean, you're not going anywhere without spending hundreds of dollars. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Even to dinner, man. It's insane.
Yeah. So with the way the economy is now, man, you gotta have your hands in everything because, we grind now, so we kind of relax later, right? And I'm starting to I'll be 46 this year, so that hustle really starting to hit me harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a technical advisor for armor companies. I've been testing armor since I was probably 18.
How'd you get into that? Oh, so military?
Yeah. I was in the military when I was 17. Have always had a fascination with armor. Always have. And then when you get into the fascination with armor, you start getting into the fascination with bullets and how bullets work and how this work, because to know one is to know the other. You know what I mean? Because okay, now I need to figure out how to defeat this, or I need to figure out what's the next level. And what's kind of neat about that business is when you get into both of them, it's kind of like owning a hospital and a funeral home.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because you're always going to always have business.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because somebody will go, hey man, I got a bullet now that can defeat this, and you go, well, heck, back to the drawing board. Let's try to figure out how to reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah, I feel like bullet technology's become extremely advanced in the past 20 years.
Oh yeah.
From what you used to have, your standard calibers, your standard build, and then and then I feel like now it's like every time I turn around, there's a new caliber coming out.
Sure.
It's like we're gonna take this same bullet but neck it down and put more powder in it. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But I got into, like, I used to be fascinated by firearms when I was younger because I got into hunting with my grandfather, and then he had hundreds of guns, and but I never got into the realm of like the tactical stuff. I was more like hunting rifles and from anywhere from like a 22 Magnum all the way to 300 and everything in between. And I used to be fascinated by every time they come out with, like, I remember when Hornady come out with their VMAX ballistic tips, all those things or whatever, right. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever because all we ever had was those old silver tip Winchesters or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right, all that basic ammo stuff.
Yeah, but the advanced stuff you're talking about, man, walk me through all that, because there's like how does it work in the military and how they choose, weaponry and calibers, and how often does that fluctuate? Because I know, for a long time they used this and now they're using that. How's that work?
So the military for a long time, so we can start at the Civil War.
Yeah. Okay.
We had our calibers then were 69 caliber, and when we say .69, that's a point of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
Now when we do the metric system, that's a little different, because we want to do things ever different than what the rest of the world does.
Yeah.
They go 7.62 by 51.
Right.
Where we're like, nah, we're going to call it a 308.
Yeah.
No, it's a 30 caliber. Ammunition when we were in the Civil War was real bad. We were shooting 3/4 of an inch bullet at each other. Men have the tenacity to really want to hurt each other. And the biggest bullet that we use now in the military is a 50 caliber.
Yeah.
Which is still not as big as what we used.
Which is crazy to think about, right?
Yeah.
Because we look at that and we're like, God, that's massive, and it's still not as big as that.
Yeah. So we're just talking about the caliber size. But so bullets have really, really changed. Mm-hmm. And I was with 1st and 75th Ranger Battalion, Special Operations. I did that for 6 years.
Okay.
So we were always in that avenue of trying to come up with a better system, right? We're going to make this bullet a little hotter. We'll put some tungsten in it, which tungsten still to this day is one of the hardest materials, light, and one of those bullets now can go for $100 a piece.
Really?
Yeah. Right. And there's a market in that.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think there is, like, hey man, I want to sell really crazy ammo. And I brought some with me today for you to kind of check out. And we'll check out in a little bit if you want to. So bullet progression has changed. So our special forces went to a 6.8 SPC.
Okay.
And which was kind of like a 30 caliber, and they necked it down, and then they went to a 458 SOCOM is like your 4570, but it's necked down as well. So that everybody that kind of gets into it. So let's say me and you were in a unit, we'd be like, hey man, we want something that really hits hard. We'll go to a 300 blackout, and we get to decide that, and we get to work with our commanders or whoever, and we say, hey, we want to do something different. Or we want to be Gucci, you know?
Yeah.
So really what all that boils down to is just like a shooter's preference, right? I know Mike, he likes the 300. He likes 7.62 by 39, the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
I really like that guy. And me and him talk a lot.
Okay.
And because you're always working on that coefficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So when you figure out how that works and what you can do better, I think we're always trying to press that line.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of weird, and then you end up with an armor company that'll say, okay, now I want to be able to stop that tungsten round, or I want to be able to stop that 50 caliber.
Well, so us as a nation, like, what are we, like, our opposition, like, what's our threat right now? Like, if like armed forces on ground, what caliber are they using that we're worried about, like, if any?
Okay, so when I deal, because I'm a technical advisor supervisor for HCM Armor, they're concerned, their SAS, the French SAS, all the special forces guys are worried about a 7.62 by 39 BZ.
Okay.
And what it is kind of like a tungsten core API. It's an armor piercing incendiary round. So when that bullet hits you, it hits you at 3,000 degrees.
Gosh.
So, and I've got some videos.
And how fast? So how fast is it shooting?
It's moving around pretty close to 3,000.
So 3,000. Gosh, man, that's insane.
And when it hits you, it's more of a. So you can imagine me and you. We're sitting here shooting. We're fighting it out, right? We're in a bad place, right? And the round hits you, and you turn into a ball of fire.
Yeah.
My will to want to fight kind of goes away.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you don't have any armor to stop it too. So it's piercing you, and you catch on fire.
Wait, no. So now, the bad part of that is when one of those rounds hits you, it doesn't ignite at first because it's supposed to penetrate armor. So what it does is it blows up on the backside.
Oh man!
So it makes it about 3/4 of the way through your body before it decides to go ahead.
Yeah, that's I'm not fighting anymore. I'm done, dude. I'm done.
Yeah, me, you, and everybody else.
Yeah, like
average. It's like
yeah.
But that's one of the biggest concerns when I deal with outside sources. That's their armor that they or the ammo that they worry about from the. And I know in Ukraine they're using anything.
Okay. Yeah.
Right now, Ukraine will take anything for
right. Yeah. Just to help out.
Yeah. And you know what's kind of funny about that is you see countries like Ukraine where they're trying to bring in weaponry, we're trying to bring in firearms, they're trying to bring in anything to try to defend them each other. And here in America, they're trying to remove that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like this happened in Europe however long ago. You know what I mean? I mean, it's something interesting that I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about, and I couldn't agree more. I think that, I think everything was written in as it should be. I do think some things evolve, but there's some things that don't need to. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of people that shouldn't have weapons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think maybe the control, like removing them, is not the answer in my opinion. But I do think that there should be some more like certifications or something. You know what I mean?
And I agree with you. And so that's the reason why we started the tactical side of this company.
Yeah.
And what we do is we partnered with a company that allows me to take your firearm. I put a barrel in your firearm, and I give you a round that shoots, and it goes bang. It makes a pop. It gives you the recoil. It gives you everything, and it shoots a 1/4-inch paintball ball out of it.
Okay.
At about 400 feet per second, which isn't going to kill you or hurt you or anything like that. Now, is it pleasant? No. You know what I mean? But this is the lessons learned not to do this thing. And what I think that does is we are creating shoot rooms. Like we grab something like your office, right?
Yeah.
and we give people scenarios. And okay, you have a firearm now. This is your firearm. You're responsible for that bullet. As soon as it leaves your barrel, that's yours.
Yeah.
So if it accidentally shoots a kid, if it accidentally goes through the wall, any of those things, you're responsible for that action. And what I think is really neat about that is we have so many people that purchase firearms that don't really know much.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably 3/4 of the population.
Right. I would.
You know?
And us being guys,
right.
we were like, somebody says, "Hey, man, I want to show you how to."
Right. Yeah.
I can go watch
the ego thing. Yeah.
And we're really, really bad about that. And we also want to go out there and pick the biggest bullet we can get. Like, when it comes at 50 caliber, man, I gotta have 2 of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really not always the answer. You know. I tell almost every young lady or every woman that has never fired a firearm that wants to purchase one, wants to have it to protect themselves, get a 22.
Yeah.
Because this is the one thing that never happens. When you start shooting at a bad guy, he's like, man, I wonder what caliber they're shooting.
Yeah. They're getting shot. Yeah.
I'm like, man, I wonder what size that is.
22 is easy to conceal, has no recoil, it's not loud, it's not going to scare you.
Yeah. And, it doesn't. It's inexpensive, so you're gonna want to go shoot it. And the people that buy these for the first time, they're doing this because I have a genuine concern. You know, right? One of the things that we do in our tactical classes is we show 911 calls where houses are being broken in and they have no firearms. Mm-hmm. And or if you're in a parking lot and somebody comes up on you and you have no firearms, those are some scary moments.
Yeah, I mean, and it's. You never know too, like location, right? I mean, you never know if you're going to be in the scene of a crime or you're going to be in a position to where you need to defend yourself. There's a lot of scenarios where you should be armed, I would say, whereas if you're there just because you're naive and you don't want to be, you're taking a chance on losing your life.
Yeah. And with the way, like I said, and with the economy, people are tough right now, right?
Yeah.
They need money and they're resorting to the violence and whatever they need to be able to try to pay for their families or food or whatever the situation may be. Because if I put you under pressure, right, you're going to have to start coming up with ideas to try to figure out how to make ends meet, right? Yeah. And people are doing some really radical things now.
Yeah, and those people that are more apt to commit those crimes typically aren't that well rounded around a firearm either,
right.
Which puts not only the person who they're pointing that at in danger, but everyone else around them too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's something I would say is a huge concern. But what you guys are doing, so you can take any what's the restrictions here? So like any type of pistol.
Yeah,
I come to you
and AR.
So any caliber pistol?
Yeah. Well, so. Right now we're sticking to pretty much 9mm and 45.
Okay, so your most commonly carried.
Right,
okay.
Right. If 10mm is the next step.
Okay.
Because if you've never shot a 10mm or if you've never seen a 10mm, that's the next evolution of carry.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's that manly man round. You know what I mean?
I haven't shot one. I've seen them, but yeah.
Yeah, they're very, very. When people shoot 10mm, and you go to a range or you go to a shooting competition, they'll be like, "Oh, you got one of anemic 9mm rounds."
Yeah.
and you allow that. We have that certain amount of joking that we do with one another. But to me, it's all about what you train with. You know what I mean? I've seen people with 22s that are so accurate when they come out of draw and they're on you, you're done. You know what I mean? It's going to hit you in 380s. I've taught a lady to shoot with a 380, and she's superbly accurate with it. Now you give her a 9mm, she couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with it.
Yeah,
it's because we don't want to overextend ourselves, right? We want to, right, in our minds, but that takes a great deal of training. Mm-hmm. So we take your barrel, we put our barrel in it, so there can't be any mishaps or anything like that. When I trained people at churches, we used to carry a rubber ball gun.
Yeah.
And every single class I've ever done, somebody misfires that thing.
Yeah.
And because there's no safety on it,
right.
and there's no safety on it for a reason.
Right.
And it shoots a 50 caliber rubber ball, and it stings and it hurts and it's real bad, right? And every time that we try to go through scenarios or anything, somebody accidentally puts their finger on the trigger and lets it off. And that's one of the biggest concerns with trying to teach people how to use live ammo.
Yeah.
And then a lot of a lot of your gun snobs will be like, well, that person needs to go and they can't ever come back or anything like that. Well, there's there's nothing to be learned from that.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to do something good here, not just create a community that excludes everyone else, right?
Right. And recently, the gun community has gotten real bad about that.
Okay.
It has.
I'm kind of out of touch, man. I'm in touch with the hunting, a little bit, and that's it,
Oh man, they're such snobs, man. There's actual Facebook pages, and it's called snob groups. And
I feel like there's snobs. There's snobs about everything, dude. I've been kicked out of tequila review groups just because I said something tasted bad, or because I try to post an episode of us drinking certain things, because these people are like, they're just there's snobs everywhere. There's like communities they create. And it's like there's the same thing with vehicles, because I'm a gearhead, and there's always like the person Mopar hates Ford. It's just like, why? Like, it doesn't make any sense, dude. But yeah,
and I remember that growing up as the Ford guy, and because I used to own a custom car shop.
Okay, cool.
And but what's so bad about that is you're hurting the next generation.
Yeah,
of people.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And there's good to have that little bit of resistance. You know what I mean? Where you joke around a little bit about. First on race day or found on road day or any of those things, you know what I mean? Some of those things are fun, but when you start taking it to a personal level, like gun community has gotten so bad where they'll haze somebody, and it's just gotten real toxic, you know what I mean? Because the people that really don't know a whole lot about it are going to be the first ones to jump out there and try to persecute somebody else. Like, oh, you don't have one of those Daniel defenses, or you can't be part of our little clique here. You know what I mean? And it's real bad because not everybody that wants to defend themselves has $2,000-$3,000 to put in a gun. You know?
That's a lot of money if you think about it. Like, I mean, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot,
especially when people barely have enough to pay their bills as it is,
and or they're new to it, and
putting money into something you're not familiar with, and
or it's just like if anybody plays a guitar, you want to start off low. You don't want to go to that $2,000 Taylor or something.
I'd love to have one, but how can you justify it?
Because you're still learning, man. And so I on social media, I'm really known for going out there and when somebody goes to beating on somebody, I stand up like that social justice guy. I want to stand up for that person. Like, look, man, don't worry about what they're saying or anything else. Just do what you do. Keep training. Keep working at it, and you'll get better.
Yeah.
And then as you progress, then you may go into that, like, oh, now I want to do this, or I want to get into that high tier stuff. But I think right now for people, get your common stuff down, get your basics, and people are like, well, I don't want to start with a 22. Well, that's still a good idea, you know what I mean? Like, because you don't have that bang. It's not a real loud pop. There's not a lot to it. It's really inexpensive.
Nothing to be scared of,
right?
As far as like on the user end.
Yep.
Whereas, you're shooting a 45 or anything larger. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of recoil.
Yeah, I was here in town. I just got back into town, and I went over to the Cash and Flash. They were great people over there. And there was a young lady trying to purchase something, and her boyfriend was over there telling her, "So no, you got to buy a 45." And I'm thinking, I mean, she was probably 110 pounds. I'm like, wait, I don't even know if she's going to be able to stabilize her wrist to be able to shoot 45 caliber. Hey, I don't like shooting a 45 caliber. You know what I mean? Not all day, but there again, you'll have some people say, "I won't shoot nothing but that." And that's shooter's preference again.
Yeah, I think it's so funny how someone's married to something married to something so hard. It's like, that's all I'll use. I mean, my wife, she's law enforcement. She carries a SIG, but she has a smaller. She calls it her purse gun. She has a 9. It's this little SIG 9, and it's a little badass gun. She's like, I'll shoot anything. I don't care.
Probably the SIG 360.
I'm not sure what model it is, bro. It's a badass little gun, but I've never messed with it.
Yeah, and I think shooter preference, it comes down into that, and what really makes you comfortable, and don't allow somebody else to dictate what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And the whole internet now, there's so many people on the internet that tell you what the right thing is. When you read, like, let's say you want to look into something, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you're trying to get into anything, hot rods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you got to spend some time.
Yeah.
You have to spend some time. That's the biggest issue we face in society as a whole right now is someone sees something, immediately jumps on a narrative without even investigating it, right?
See, isn't that so true?
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's been like that. You got to think about that. It's been like that our entire existence in humanity from as back as far as we can remember, because there's just a big platform with a lot more noise now. But you just like when you're in high school and rumors started and it spread into something else that wasn't true, you know? I mean,
Right.
it's always been the same thing. It's just a different way of putting the information out there. People like to shoot the messenger and say, well, it's because of the platform. No, it's because we're humans and that's what we do. You know what I mean?
So I agree with you, and I like how you put that out there, because I don't know if we've ever moved out of the high school class.
No, we haven't, man. We found another way to gossip.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is. It's just when you have that many cultures in one bubble, there's going to be conflicting ideas, and like, but at the same time, there's going to be someone mad at someone else because they don't agree with them.
Right. And I think we're missing that in the world. You know, being able to sit out there and openly talk about. I think we have a degradation in our government because of that.
Yeah.
That one thing, because now it's just become it's a show, it's a circus.
Yeah.
You know, they get up there and they start booing each other and stuff like that, and trying to make rhetoric of it instead of sitting gumming down. And what bothers me the most about this, these are the people that are supposed to know better than me, right?
Right.
You know, they're supposed to be.
These are people we look to for answers and decision making on behalf of all of us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I do think people like to argue about what president does this and what does that. Man, I think there's a top 1% that controls everything.
Sure.
And it's just a kind of a rollover effect. Like, we're going to put this in this party in office for a little while, then we're going to shift to this party. Because it always seems to go back and forth. It's like, okay, when this entire society starts leaning too much this way, let's put someone else in to sway them back this way. And it's just kind of like a swaying boat. And that's just what I'll see from like a 1,000-foot view. I never jump on the train of like bashing one elected official to the other, because I think it's a huge just I don't know, man. It's just a huge swamp of crazy bullshit.
And I agree with you. And because we have that back and forth and where they're trying to push the narrative, right? It's always pushed by money.
Yeah, of course. The corporations run this country. Like, they just do. It just is what it is, you know?
Yeah,
and it has forever.
And I don't know if you know this or not, back in the 1920s, Listerine, when they first created Listerine, they worked with Lambert Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And it was like a drug, right? And they were trying to sell it. So what they did is they put this big ad campaign out there to saying, they made a word called halitosis. Now, halitosis is a made-up word
for bad breath.
It's made up by Listerine.
No shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what they wanted to do was trying to make you to buy a product. So what they did is they got together with some doctors and some other people, and they put a marketing ad together, and they said, well, people hate you if you don't have this, and now halitosis is a real thing, and it's always been a real thing, but the word itself, the marking of it, and that.
Right. They created the word to kind of create some conversation.
Yeah. And that company is a multi-million-dollar company, and Lambert's still involved with it on the backside of it. So never really trust the people with the money to try to influence a good decision on your behalf. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it just is what I mean. It's just like for some reason, people can realize that in the lower level of corporation, like corporate world, but you know, because they are all in agreement that, you know, that's, you don't trust those people, blah blah blah. But once you get past that into that next tier of power and control, then people just want to deny it or just not believe it, or just, I don't know, man, just not pay attention, man. It's just about paying attention.
And our government works the same, our military works the same way. People say all the time, like, these generals, they're going to come out here and they're going to do things and they're going to do that. I'm like, they're generals now, you know, like, they're politicians. Like, they can't even get out of Afghanistan. Let's hold on a second about trying to figure out some other stuff, you know. And that was a big debacle there, and you know, it's funny how that's not really spoke about too much. You know, you and I can't have these firearms, but we're going to go ahead and arm the Taliban with them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I don't know if you've seen that or not, but they actually put our gear on and raised the Taliban flag back on the base.
Is that everything we left there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like, I still don't understand any of that. What? And I don't dive into it too much because it's like, I don't really know what information is true and what's not, you know, and I don't have enough time to investigate those specific things. But that's also not my wheelhouse, right? That's your wheelhouse. Like you know more about. You were in the military. What year were you in?
I went in 1996.
Okay, so and then you were out in.
I got out in 2000. I went back in 2002, right after the planes hit.
Okay,
so I went and signed right back up.
Really?
The day after the planes hit. I went back up there and said, "Hey, man, y'all put me back out." So I went back in the first part of 2002. Went back to Iraq.
Okay.
And it stayed out in Iraq. It was supposed to be about a year. I ended up almost out there 15 months because they got what they call a no-stop hold. Right there, right as OIF was Operation Iraqi Freedom was starting to kick off. I was there for about 3 months and then pulled back out.
Got you. Okay.
And then came back here to Fort Polk. And they said, "Hey, man, we really want you to come back." And I'm like, "Look, man, I had
did your time. You did your time.
You know, I listened to the gentleman that was out here, and I can't remember his name because I'm real bad with names. Though was a drill instructor. I lived next door.
A buddy of mine?
Yeah.
Michael DePaulo?
Yeah. You know, I lived next door to his parents.
Okay, so you're right there. Yeah, man, me and him grew up together. It's crazy he's been doing that now for a while. Yeah.
And then I started seeing the government differently. You know what I mean? In my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion, I don't think we've been good guys for a long time.
Yeah, no one wants to admit that.
You know, and nobody really wants.
Aren't we the ones that antagonize the fight, start the fight, and then finish the fight?
Yeah.
All trying to make money off the fight. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it seems like. I don't know. Who am I?
And there's a lot of truth to that because there wasn't no real reason to be there, right? And I'm not saying that there isn't bad in the world, but you got to let bad do on their own behalf. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're always seems to get our nose in everyone else's business for some reason. I know it's like it's somewhat of a scare tactic. Like, we have to protect our freedom and our home, so let's go out there and get into this fight to make sure that we feel more secure here. I don't know. It is weird. It's a weird scenario that we seem to always be putting ourselves into.
Right. You know, the first time I remember hearing about it, we got involved into a conflict was Korean War, right? We were going out there trying to separate them, and y'all need to behave, and we're policing these people. And so many of our men and women died out there trying to police another country. And then you go to the Vietnam era, and then that even got really nasty. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now we're out there in all kinds of places. Some stuff I can tell you about, some stuff I can't tell you about.
Yeah.
But Bosnia is one of them. I can't get in depth in it, but we're out there trying to police everybody and tell them what they need to do. And at some point in time, I think that we lost because we want to tell people what to do, that we're not always the right ones.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I get it. I mean, it does. I mean, I think that, I don't know, with the more power you have, the more control you seek.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think we're just victims of that as a whole, as a country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And we now we're over here getting involved with Ukraine and all of that, and I have no qualms of telling anybody we got no business over there.
Yeah.
We got no business getting involved. We got no business messing with Russia.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one power we don't need to fuck with.
Right.
It just is. Like, it really is. Like, why would we piss off the one threat? You know what I mean? Everyone wants to talk about China. Fuck that. I'm more scared of Russia than I am China because, I mean, Putin don't give a fuck, dude. He don't. Like, he does not.
What a lot of people don't know about Putin is he was special forces.
Yes.
And he was the special forces of the special forces. He was like our SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, most definitely. And still throw down in a gunner hand-to-hand combat right now.
So I was listening to Biden talk about him one day, and I'm thinking, man, you're going to get in the same room with this guy, and he's going to be able to put his hands on you faster than the Secret Service can get over there to save you.
Yeah.
So, and I think we should go to that. I think Congress and the Senate and all that stuff should be able to throw hands on one another. You know what I mean? And I think this would stop a lot of this.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a bunch of. Well, I mean, I feel like always too, before it makes it to any, and especially we're in a day and age now to where we have access to information way before they can, play it out and create a narrative. Like, so we're able to see stuff as it unfolds, instead of them like, okay, we're going to put this whole theatric together after we've already made a decision. You know what I mean? Like on the back end, they've already agreed upon something, but then they're going to go into a room and argue when they already know what the outcome's going to be. Like that's a little harder to do nowadays. So I think that you see a lot of stumbling. You know, like as they try to get to some point or narrative, it's like, okay, well, we know you're full of shit. You know, because X, Y, and Z. Whereas before, it's like we're going to believe whatever you tell us because we don't know any different. Because there's only 2 or 3 platforms to find out information from, and they're all saying the same thing just from one side or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like that. I don't know if you know anything about the cocaine scandal that's going on right now.
No, I don't know. So what is it?
Now, so they found Hunter Biden went over to the White House and they went on vacation with his dad and all that. And
this is recent. This is way past all the other stuff.
Oh no, yeah, this is in the last couple of days.
Okay.
And it kind of segues off of that scandal thing where one of the Secret Service men found some cocaine where they were at, and they were just now the White House was like, well, no, it was brought in by somebody visiting and stuff like that. Because the people find out faster than what they're able to cover it up.
Yeah. There's just no time, man. I mean, leaks are like where they used to take weeks, they take literally minutes. You know.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get the information out there, then you have to try to figure out what's true and what's not. You know.
Yeah, that's
and then
the biggest thing. And
spiderwebs.
I think we can get down these holes. Rabbit holes, and I got a buddy of mine that tells you all the time, hey, look, man, go down a rabbit hole, but don't go too far where you lose oxygen.
Yeah. Well, look, I have some people I know that they jump down them and just dive deep, and then they're just up to their neck in water, and then they can't get out because they're so convinced it's true. And I'm just like, man, I don't also at the same time, I don't have time to worry about that shit that doesn't affect me, you know?
And people will double down on it. And yes, do I believe there's a top 1%? But do I believe they're bathing in blood? You know what I mean? No.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm not into all that, dude. Like, come on now, are you kidding me? Like this with the access of information we have, there could be no secret society that's that fucking tight knit that don't have any leaks that shows. You can take any video clip and turn it into something or make it look like something else if you put some context around it, So yeah, I don't jump into all that either.
Yeah. And are there lizard men under the?
Yeah, man. I don't know about all that.
I don't. I can't get down that, but
Well, now they're saying that they're going to start creating. They're going to try to create another pandemic around UFOs.
Sure.
So. Who knows, man? Like that's why they're introducing UFOs to us when they've always been around, and now they're going to try to create some kind of pandemic around. I'm like, look, man, we'll see what happens, but I mean, who?
I'm one of those that I'm going to be prepared for any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Is there aliens? Who knows, man? Why would they be over here just messing around? Like,
why were they wasting our time with us whenever we were literally Neanderthals compared to their technology?
Sure, right. Because the one thing you'd have to ask is how did they? Our technology, sooner or later, we're going to reach a precipice.
Yeah.
That would be the question I would have to ask. If I ever met an alien, say, how did you do it?
Yeah.
How did you survive? Because we, as human beings, we're going to reach this pinnacle of society, and then we're going to fall back off again.
Yeah, we've seen it happen. If you look back in history, it's happened, multiple times, and we will.
And so if they're truly an alien race out there, they're probably rolling up the doors and locking the doors when they come by right now. Like the people are not going to make it, man. They're going to go out.
Just sitting here to watch the show. We're just here to watch the show. Yeah. Maybe we're just like comical to them.
Or the TV show.
Sitcom or something.
Yeah, because we are on this fall, and I think we're right now in society. I think we're at that precipice again. That fall point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a weird thing going on because I feel like right now there's more people that are in shape than there ever has been that care.
Right.
But at the same time, there's twice as many people that are out of shape.
Sure.
And I mean mentally and physically. I don't just mean obese. I'm saying there's people that are at the pinnacle of emotional, intelligence as far as being able to take things in and deal with emotions and express those, and at the same time physically be able to do every single task they want to do. And then there's people that can't deal with emotions or anything, and also they can't get off the couch.
Right.
And those people are starting to outweigh, or they've been outweighing us slowly more and more. But it is interesting. It is interesting because I'm not saying I've lost hope. I just think that, man, man, just I don't know.
Hope is a good word for it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like that's the path. We're heading in
well,
that
I mean,
direction.
yeah, I mean, we're oh, man, we're making light of dumb shit and having conversations about things and throwing things around like it's a joke because there's no consequence to us doing so. You know, whereas you couldn't do that before because everything that happened we took serious because we were united. Now we're so separated that we can pick and laugh about certain scenarios without offending the other side because it's a joke, but at the same time, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if that makes like
no, it makes
just
sense.
to my perspective. It's interesting how these things unfold because we're in a position now to where we have all the power in the world, but at the same time we have none.
Yeah, and we're slowly giving them more and more away of that because we're allowing somebody else to tell us, dictate what our thought process is. And
but at the same time, we have the ability to dictate and influence other people's thought processes too.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
and we are holding that. Like, you and I both work out. Now, I haven't worked out as much as probably you have, and I haven't as much in the last 6 months. But we know there's an importance to that mentally and physically.
Of course, yeah.
And people that kind of get into that mentality of like I almost call it like a poverty mentality because they get used to a certain lifestyle, and it just gets excessively worse. You know what I mean? And you're gonna do good, and your good's gonna go up, or your bad's just gonna go way bad.
Well, look at what happened when the power went out a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Like just pure pandemonium.
Right.
Like that's something to worry about. Our power grid could be literally bombed and we could be out of power for months.
Right.
You know, we could, like in any area of the world, you know, because these grids exist in certain areas, and if you blow up one of the big ones, it's going to shut down power in all the other surrounding areas. And if you can't be out of power for 3 to 7 to 10 days without thinking the world is ending, something is wrong. Like, and that's scary because I'm not saying it didn't inconvenience me, you know,
right.
But at the same time, you need to be prepared for any scenario. And when you get so complacent and comfortable for so long, you're just full of shit. You just think that nothing's going to happen. You know, you just think everything's going to be great. I'll let them do whatever they want. They'll tell me whatever, we'll do whatever. Just give me money.
Yep. And I think it works like that's how our government is now, where they want you to suckle, you know what I mean, and be used to it. And so when something does happen, they were like, well, you're looking to them to save this, and they're like, no, this is going to be on you.
Yeah, it's just business. I mean, they're in the business of, you know, keeping their customers, and they're doing whatever they can to keep those customers. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're going to keep them on a hook as long as we can because they depend on us.
Yep.
And they make they grease the wheels, you know.
And I think we want to think that we have this real high secured infrastructure on our grid, and it's really not that true. You know what I mean? It doesn't, because we use technology base, right? If you hack a technology base, and there's people that happens all the time, and they ask for money for Bitcoin, and they hold you ransom and all this stuff. It just takes that one number and it goes through, and then they control all of it, you know. And we've gotten pretty relaxed, right? And what is it that good times make a weak men, and which makes hard times, and then hard times create good men.
Yeah, create hard men. Yeah, hard times. Yeah. So that whole philosophy is extremely true.
Yeah,
it is because like the weaker we get, the easier it is for us to control, and until it all comes crumbling down, and then we're gonna have to go through the hard times again to create it's just a cycle. Yep. It's a cycle. What we saw with the Roman Empire. We've seen it. You know, we've seen it time and time again with different countries, different, you know, whatever it may be. You know, like I think our form of government and the way we run things is better than any other.
Right.
But I do think that stuff has become clouded, and it just has become clouded and you know, weird and strange, and somewhat there's a lot of weak points, and it's just because of no fault but our own.
Yeah, and a lot of Americans believe that we live in a democracy.
Yeah.
And now, when this was created, this is supposed to be a republic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it's where there's grown people, right, asking the people what they need, and instead of allowing the oligarchy masses to try to make the better decisions. And which is not going to come out good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no real and I just recently got back from Rome. I went into Rome, and because I'm such a big history nerd, I wanted to go see that. And my company's Ludas Magnus Tactical. That is the training facility that was next to the Coliseum for the gladiators.
Okay, nice, cool.
Yeah, and they were great. And right after the Roman Empire fell, and the reason why they fell is because they were at civil war with another country, which the Germanians kind of run in, and it's kind of like, hey, we own this now.
Yeah, exactly.
Burn it all to the ground. And, and I think, and I know this is kind of off that conspiracy theory, off the side. I think by 2024, when we get for this next election, I think chaos is going to ensue. And I hate to be pessimistic.
And in what form do you think it's going to be like? Do you think it's going to be like erratic, or you think it's going to be a slow thing?
I think everybody's kind of pitching up for it right now. You know what I mean? And the reason why I say that is because, when we go up for this next election, so many people are so passionate about everything now. And because we run off of emotion and not logical, emotion makes you irrational, and you're going to go out there and just do anything because it's an emotional state. And I'm not going to say that not every time that some Democrat that's taken office before, that Republicans or the right or the left or whatever you want to call it hasn't always thought about, okay, now we got to prepare and we got to start these groups and all that stuff. It's happened 100 times through. Yeah, it's always been that way. But now it's kind of like this thing for the seas of power, right? Like they're trying to make decisions like changing things where I have to have a driver's license to buy beer, right? Or I have to have an ID to do these things. Well, now they're saying, well, look, to vote? No, you don't need that,
Yeah, that makes it interesting. But at the end of the day, do you really think your vote even counts? And do you think it ever did? Because I would latch on that conspiracy before I would latch on anything else. Yeah. Me personally.
No, and I get that. For me, I gotta have that little bit.
Yeah,
of
you gotta have that hope. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I would take that and run with it just based on what happens. It's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. And then nobody really wants to talk about those hard things. And when you do talk about those things, people want to put you in that. They want to put you in that group. Like,
they'll put you in one group with the other group.
Ooh, they're gonna like.
Well, they're scared to talk about it. They're scared to talk about it because they're scared of. Everyone. They're self-entitled. Even me, even you. We just are. We've become that way because we now have platforms to voice our opinions.
Sure.
So whenever there's threat for our opinion to be taken away, it scares the shit out of us. So we shut up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything because then they're going to shut down my opinion power.
Right.
And so that's going to keep me from saying anything. But at the same time, is that what they want? On the advert of that, you have all these groups that are advocating love, peace, and harmony and all that. But at the same time, attacking other groups. So it doesn't make any sense to me because, like, if you really wanted all that, you would shut the hell up and just go about your business, do what you want to do, talk about what you want to talk about, and keep your nose and opinions of those people out of it, and it works on both sides. Like I get so tired of any feed anywhere opening it and seeing one party bash the other party. I don't give a shit what side it is. I'm tired of seeing that.
Right.
I don't want to see that anymore.
Right.
Like, show me somebody doing something good.
Right.
And just leave everything else out of it. Like, show me doing, like, show The Rock yelling at me at the gym, or some little cat video, like, just show me something good. Like, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to look at it because it does absolutely nothing for me. But there's so many people that do not have an objective or an agenda or anything to latch on to, so they'll latch onto that.
Sure.
And that becomes their identity,
And, I think when you start taking away a lot of problems we don't think about till they hit our door, right? Yeah. Like when crime rate goes up and people get shot in the neighborhood.
People are like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Now it's time to go buy guns.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of that's happening like in Minden and Shreveport's really, the crime rate's really gotten
40 homicides so far in the parish this year.
Yeah.
Probably more than that. I haven't looked at the news today or the update today to see how many were killed last night. But
yeah. See, and it won't be long before that keeps cruising. And I don't know if you know it or not. We tried to get a constitutional carry in Louisiana.
No, I did not. I haven't. No, I did not.
So what that means is that you and I can go carry a firearm without a permit, concealable, right? We can conceal that.
You don't have to have a concealed carry permit.
Right. And what they did is they shot it down again.
But at the same time, a concealed permit's not that difficult to get either.
It's not. But again,
for some of these people some people that fight and advocate for something but don't try to go about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't go about they just want to yell and talk shit, but they never even did the other thing in the first place,
right.
you know?
And the only reason I bring that up is like, let's say you're a single mom or you're a single dad or whatever the case may be, and there's a shooting in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
The next day, you want to go out and buy a firearm and start concealing it and carrying it. And because when I first got out of the military, I didn't want anything to do with firearms for a long time.
Why is that? Just because
because
things you went through?
Yeah, because all that stuff, you're kind of like, I don't know if that's the answer.
Yeah. Got you.
And then I was in a hotel one night, and I have some big, beautiful dogs, big pits. They're massive. I checked in the hotel now, and I'm with my wife, and we're sitting there, and a guy comes up, a big guy, and he says, "Hey man, I'm with the hotel. I got to get your dog." And I'm thinking, "No man, you can't have my dog. I've already talked with the hotel. I paid them their fee. We're good." He said, "No, I'm getting your dog." And I'm thinking, this guy is probably about 6'5". He's 6'5", 6'6", and he's probably about 300 pounds. And I'm thinking, I've got to fight this guy. I'm fixing to have to fight this guy. Yeah. And like you, I did MMA and all that stuff. And that works.
But certain look, but I mean, there's a certain point where it's like, okay, I need some help.
Yeah. You're gonna. The only thing you can hope for is to gas him out.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all these scenarios are running through my head. If he decides, and if he gets that lucky shot on me, and I go down, he has not only access to my dog, to my wife, and to anything else in my life, because he came there to do that.
Yeah.
And I got very aggressive and said, I said to my wife, "Get on 911. Me and you will go." I shut the door, right? So he has no access. And I said, "Me and you can go up to the office and we'll talk to the manager." So we start running off this way. It gets a little confrontational, and he took off. After that, the next day, I went and got me a gun.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm teaching you how to use one."
Was this someone like trying to steal the dog, like for fighting purposes or something, maybe?
I don't know. Really,
you just had a big pit and they just want to take it. Yeah. Got you.
Yeah, and then whatever their
motive was,
yeah. That was not my concern.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, why would they want to just randomly take your dog? But I mean, that seems. He
was about 200 pounds.
Okay, so it's like it could be anything. Yeah.
He has a red nose and breed them.
Breed them. Yeah, that's a lot of money in that too. Yeah,
that's
makes
right.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you could put a stud of dog out for probably $1,200-$1,500 for a shot on that.
Yeah.
And sometimes people rob people over $24.
Yeah, I mean, there's any rhyme or reason.
Yeah, there's I want what you do, what you got, and they say envy, but the whole world works like that now. I want what you have, and I don't want to really work for it. I want it now. That instant gratification. Yeah. But we've kind of built that.
We've created, man. It's like we're our own worst enemy, because we really are. We complain about everything that we did to make our life easier. Right. We made our life easy, and now it's created more issues that we're now trying to resolve. The finger always comes back to us.
Yeah. So I think when those certain situations happen, the next day you want to go purchase a firearm. You want to go out and you want to protect yourself. Now, do I believe that there should be some training with that? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
But we hear this from every single person in government that says that we need to remove the firearms. Not one person has come up with any kind of thing that's saying, we'll pay for you to go to a class. We'll give out crack pipes. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've seen that, where they were handing out like $30,000 worth of crack pipes in California or something like that.
That whole area is doomed right now. It just is what it is.
Well, now what is it? Schedule 3 and Schedule 4 are legal there now.
Yeah.
Or decriminalized.
Yeah. And there's some mixed emotions about that too, because I mean, I don't know, man. It's when those things make it into these people are going to do drugs no matter what. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're going to do them no matter what. But if you let go of all government in an area, I mean, it almost makes me think this is a social experiment in certain areas. I really do.
See what it does.
They're just like, we're going to try this and just see. It's already an area that's kind of, ridden in poverty and crime. Let's just see what happens here.
And have you seen it? If you get a chance, don't go too far into the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
but it's gotten real bad.
Oh yeah, it's bad over there. It's bad there. It's bad in what's the other areas? I can't think.
Washington, Oregon, and California
Oregon.
right now.
It's bad in Oregon. Portland's really bad right now.
Yeah.
Last I heard, talk to somebody up there, it is, but they just kind of like, we just watch it all from up here, you know, like here on the other side of the lake, we watch all this.
I think of me, I would be pulling the pin. Like California has the most people leaving the state.
Yeah. Yep.
Than any other any state in America.
Yep.
And they're moving by. I can't remember the number, and I don't want to give a number.
Oh, it's droves though. It's droves.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all coming this way too.
Yeah, and as long as they don't come here wanting to.
Well, I mean, it's the people wanting to get away that have, you know, they have a good mindset of they want to be in an area that's, you know,
right,
flourishing, economically good. They don't have to worry about their car being broken into. You know what I mean? They don't have to worry about being robbed at gunpoint. Like that's a good reason to leave, I would think.
No, it is. And then because what
a lot of people around here, old country folks, like, I don't want them coming over here. I'm like, dude, they're trying to come. That you came over here, your ancestors came over here to get away from bullshit. They're just trying to get away from bullshit too.
Yeah, as long as that they, you know, you don't move to a place and try to change the way.
Right, exactly. You just you gotta come in and mend with what the culture's there. You know, not trying to come in and try to change everything.
Yeah, run what you brung.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I wish that they would have had passed that constitutional carry here in Louisiana, but it got shot down again.
So you can, in Louisiana, you can conceal carry legally if you have a permit, and you can open carry legally.
Yep. And the problem with the open carry
carry, it's a man. When someone walks in with a gun on their hip, and they don't have a badge, it's concerning.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right.
A lot of times.
But see, when did that happen?
I don't know. It's very interesting. I guess because no one does it, and then the one person that seems to do it is one that's typically someone that's a little outlandish. You know what I mean? I feel like, you know.
I think, but see, our mentality's kind of changed. Like when you see somebody with a rebel flag now, where it used to be okay to see, now when you see them, you're kind of like, ooh, that's.
Well, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. But we've been indoctrinated with that kind of mentality. And when we see somebody with open carry and we're going to go, oh, you know, that's a rough edge, right?
Yeah.
We look at it as a rough edge. Like, are you trying to prove a point? Or
that's what I look at. I look at it as like, man, watch this person because they may be wanting a reason to use it.
Right.
That's just how I look at it, you know. But not all the time. But sometimes when I see that, I'm someone's going to talk some shit over this. But I've seen that before, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want that dude open carrying around me. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And I know, and again, that's one of those things where we should be allowed to have open discussions about, and people not get so feelings.
Yeah, not offended over it. Yeah.
And I was a police officer for a little bit.
Okay.
And I was with officers with guys that they didn't believe that people should carry and they shouldn't have firearms, and you know that was a difference in opinion. And as a police officer, I could understand why they would feel that way, but at the same time, you can understand why people would be nervous that only the government and the police have guns.
No, it makes sense. No, I'm all for 100% support, you know, you having your own firearm.
Right.
I just think that everyone that has that firearm needs to have knowledgeable on how to use it, how to store it, how to keep it clean, how to keep it away from children, and when is the best time to even bring it into the equation. You know what I mean?
And that's what we're going to be doing with Ludas Magnus Tactical. We're going to try to give everybody that opportunity, and the biggest problem with that is trying to make it cost effective, right? Because every single round that we shoot is $1.50.
Yeah.
And the barrels themselves cost us money. All that stuff costs money. So what we're trying to do is trying to figure out to make that a price point where the common person could go out there and do that, and that's kind of difficult.
Well, that is exciting though, because I used to play paintball when I was younger, but there's really no consequences. But with a gun, so you're putting this new barrel into my gun,
right?
And it's still gonna fire and pin, everything's going to go off, make the noise, recoil. It's just not going to shoot a bullet. It's going to shoot a little, like a small paintball.
Yep, a 1/4-inch paintball.
Okay. I mean, I like that idea. I like that idea versus just trying to do tactical training with airsoft guns. I don't think that's not creating the same effect, you know, or trying to roll around and play paintball and act like that you're reliving, you know, some type of combat scenario, which you're not. You know, I mean, I do think that raises a little more awareness because people should know the sound, know the movements, you know, all in while seeing what the consequence, you know, so close to the consequences you can get.
You know, one of the biggest things is keeping your finger away from the trigger. You know, I watched a lot of videos on mishandling of firearms, and some of the saddest I've ever seen was somebody would be on Facebook Live with a gun in their hand.
Dude, that one where I remember if it was a young lady was driving and the passenger was waving it around and shot the driver or whatever. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Man, that was rough. That's rough to watch.
And another one was where there was a young man and a young woman, and they were doing a video in a mirror, and she had a Glock in her hand, and she accidentally shoots her boyfriend in the head with it, and scares her so much she falls to the ground, and she shoots herself immediately afterwards.
Yeah, that's bad.
And she's not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Not knowing where trigger placement is. Not thinking that there's an end result to this that is catastrophic.
What are your thoughts on mass shootings connected to people? Just because people are going to ask this, and I already know, and it gets talked about a lot, so I figured I'd bring this conversation up with you. Mass shootings, and then the conversations around playing all these real shooter videos.
Oh yeah.
What are your opinions there? What do you think? Like, do you think that's connected? Do you think, or you know?
100% connected.
Okay.
I talked to a police officer, and he sent me the video of the guy that did New York. He put a camera on his chest rig right here, and he was running around like a first-person shooter.
Right.
And he was just running around with, and this is going to go back to that point you brought up a minute ago. We use this internet, we use the computers as this barrier.
Yeah.
We allow ourselves not to be confrontational anymore. Which back in the day, if you had beef, people would handle that beef, and you knew there was a consequence to that. I wasn't going to talk smack to you on the CB or any of those things prior to cell phones.
Yeah, because I was going to get my ass whooped, or we're fighting. You know, like I'm not going to talk shit unless we're going to, you know, do something about it. Yeah.
And that's why I kind of throw it in there. Like Congress would be the same way, like, you know. But there's no longer that barrier. You know what I mean? And what people want to do now is they play the video games, right? There's no consequence to that. I go out there and I play the game where you can
Call of Duty or whatever.
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto, yeah. Steal vehicles, shoot people, yeah.
And there's no consequence to that, and there's reward. Hey, you're getting clout for that, and now we have that mentality. We're going to go back to that indoctrinating our youth. So mass shootings now. I'm angry. Nobody's really had any real beef. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go shoot up these things. I don't think there's not an answer for that.
I don't think there is, because I think it all comes down to mental health.
Sure.
I really do. Like, in people, like, they want to ban guns over it. Do I think everyone needs a fully automatic rifle? No, I don't. Right. I don't. You know, but that's my opinion. You know, do I think you should be able to have your own damn weapon? Yes.
Right.
Do I think if you do have certain tiers of weapons, you should be trained accordingly based on those tiers of weapons? Right. Yes. But the people that just purchase these things and they play in first world shooter, whatever it's called, video games and stuff. I mean, I played them when I was kids, you know, whatever. We used to play the hell out of 007 GoldenEye. It was like the coolest game ever. Yeah. But I never had a thought in my head to go reenact that in real life. But I do think it's tied to mental illness, and I think something that's not talked about enough. It's just immediately, let's take guns because this is happening. Well, it's been happening for a long time, you know. But I do think that it could be I could see the connection there if this person was mentally ill and was doing all, and that was what they put their time and effort and emotions into, and then they just went and reenacted that.
Sure.
In reality.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Right. I could go ahead and have a conversation with you, but that's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, we can have those hard conversations.
Yeah. I mean, it takes effort.
And
it takes effort.
And so we're such an instant, you know, society now. We want to handle that beef now. Mm-hmm. And what's going to be neat about this UTM thing that we're doing and these firearms, if you have a beef, right, you can go out there and solve it legitimately. You know, and we've talked about this, right? You know, you don't have to go out there, and we've noticed in the gun world and the tactical world, people get out there and they get
Oh, you're talking about let's get out here and settle it caliber to caliber.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's another scenario, but I do think the best selling point of what you have is to definitely be, you know, educating people. Sure. And putting people in as close to real life scenarios as possible.
Right.
because I do think what always is funny to me is the self-defense shit, because you've done some training and stuff, and as well as I have, and it's like, if this person grabs you here, in the moment of action, none of that's going to matter, you know. But if you have a gun, you can just shoot them. You know what I mean? Like, get the hell away from them. That's your last resort. Because I'll tell you this: there's police officers I know that's the first thing they want to do, and there's other police officers that's the last thing they'll ever do.
Right.
They do not want to shoot anyone. They have it. They're trained on it, but they do not want to use that weapon, because as soon as they do, it opens up a door to another world. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you've ever done that, taken someone's life or shot someone or whatever, like, it's just a whole nother ball game. Like, so I do see both points where, like, I never want to shoot anyone, and then shoot first, talk later. If I'm in a scenario, I see both of those points. But I think, like, if you're I was brought up to self-defense stuff, because I think if you're a woman, like, and there's someone trying to overpower you, you don't need to be worried about these trying to secure a certain judo throw or whatever. Like, you just need to get away, and if you can't get away, use other means of force.
Yeah, the force. In the military, we call it a force multiplier.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's 12, and I've got her some spikes that she carries with her in her purse.
Yeah.
And she has mace. These are force multipliers. Whatever it is to try to level this playing field.
Yeah.
Because regardless of whatever society wants to tell you, there is a difference between men and women. Right?
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. There's people that are bigger, faster, and stronger than you. And if they want what you have, they're going to get it. You know, if you let them. And there's sometimes you can't. But why would you not want to level that playing field? But we're also in a state to where, in certain scenarios, if you do shoot one, if you shoot someone who's attacking you, and you have a tier higher force, than they do, then you could be prosecuted and convicted, of that, because they may have been attacking you with the knife, and you shot them with a gun, and the government could see it as, rule it as, well, you had a higher tier. So there's so many elements, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you're trying to protect yourself.
Right, and I have insurance for that.
Yeah.
USCCA.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to throw a plug for them, but I use that.
Yeah.
It's $15 a month because I do carry a firearm, and if ever that day comes, they're not going to be from my side, no matter what my military background looks like, my police department background, any of those things.
I don't know what the statistics are on like any like mass shootings or people doing things that you do see. Like, you see veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder who you have done things, violent crimes or whatever, but you see more often than not people like you are advocating to secure, to protect, to right to bear arms, and to backing that up. So, I mean, there's something to be said about that,
right?
Because there's way more of those than there is the other side, and it's the same thing in law enforcement. It's the same thing in the other areas where those people are avid, advocates for that.
Right. And you're going to have bad people in everything. And I know that's something that we bring up a lot. And being a police officer is one of the hardest things in the world to do, besides teachers. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to make one better than the other, but
well, it's just two different scenarios. It's just two different worlds. I mean, it's two different things.
Because you're always dealing with an aggressor, right?
Yeah.
And then I think as a teacher too, you're trying to deal with kids that haven't been raised properly. I believe that teachers should go through a training and be able to carry firearms.
Yeah, I mean, these scenarios that, I'm not in opposition to that, but at the same time, like, when you open that door, then you know how that goes, right? It's one of those things, like, should that door just always stay closed?
Right.
Like, let's advocate for metal detectors and security, and then they never have to. You know what I mean? Like, let's try something before we get to that point. I don't know. You're way more well versed in these problems. Investigate them. You've seen the scenarios. I'm not. I just think that, man, I really don't want to go to school and worry about anybody having a gun besides that, whatever they call the officer.
We gave $160 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah.
To help them out. That is enough to put 4 special forces guys, paying them $80,000 a year in every single school in America.
Yeah, but those funds need to be allocated. But I think the money given to Ukraine is just a shadow of us buying that country and having control over it. You know what I mean?
Right. But I mean, we keep hearing one side of the argument is that, hey, it's always the gun, it's always the gun, it's always the gun. But we're not doing anything like
it's not the gun, man. It's not the gun. It never has been.
No, and it's never going to be.
No, it's never going to be.
So, Epictetus, back in the 1st century, or 100 AD or whatever it was, he wrote that it's not the sword that kills the man; it's the wielder of the sword.
Of course,
because they were trying to remove their sword rights out of Rome at the time, which ended up causing their fall because nobody had firearms. What they don't think about, what people don't ever bring up on the argument side of these things, is we were never invaded by Japan because Japan said behind every blade of grass is a barrel in America.
Yeah.
You're not just fighting the government. You're fighting the people, because much like Iraq, and some people are going to disagree with me on this, we started fighting insurgents, then we started fighting militias. The people that was their country were invading, right?
They put together their own military.
Right. And because they had access to firearms, that made it where we were like, look, we got to quit doing this and we got to get out of here. The fact that we see all this confrontation on the outside world, and on the inside they're going, hey man, we need to start moving those things away from you. And you're going, God, what is the agenda here? You know what I mean? Because I see on the outside, like we watch Ukraine, we watch people from Mexico, and you hear our government say, well, they're leaving up here because they're repressed down there because the drug lords are taking over. Well, if the people had firearms to fight the drug lords, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's a lot of people, especially people that's had to deal with it personally, where there's been a loss in their family or any of these things.
That's a hard conversation to have when someone's done that, because they just want to completely eradicate it from the equation based on what's happened to them. And I completely understand. Mm-hmm. I completely understand. On the advert, you also have to worry about preventing those. How would you, if that person had this, or if whatever the scenario may be. It's a touchy subject, because the person who may have took the life should never have had one in the first place,
right? For
one reason or the other,
right?
If it wasn't just cause, it was just aggressive or some, so it is a touchy subject, and that's why everyone wants to disagree on it. But most of the people that want to disagree on it don't have a dog in the fight,
right?
You know what I mean?
And I think we hear information and we get statistics because we have massive amount of information now. More people are killed by hands and feet than there are by ARs.
Yeah, more people are killed by vehicles.
Oh yeah,
than airplanes. Like it's staggering because you have to think of that's what they always want to lead with. There's X amount of guns compared to people, and there's the same thing in fucking vehicles.
Right,
they're just piled up somewhere. They've been reconditioned, or whatever. They're been recycled. Like it's something that as one generation gets something, then it's cycled out, and then the next generation buys more and creates more, and it's more produced.
1921, we made cocaine and opiates illegal.
Yeah.
All right. Last year, 250,000 people die from opiates.
Yeah.
And overdoses. And it's the numbers are higher than that, but we've got Narcan and stuff like that. Removing something doesn't solve the problem. It's the people, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to taking a gun away from you is not going to keep your head from being a hand grenade. Right? You're going to be still crazy, and you're going to start making pipe bombs. You're going to do whatever it is that you set out to do to be your evil. And here's a saying that I live by. The world is not evil or a bad place because of evil men. It's because of the silence of the good.
Yeah. I agree. I think what would worry me more is, as well as I do, my entire life, they've always talked about, combating drugs and poverty and crime. Those drugs have been illegal this whole time. These people still have access to them.
Right.
Do you think when you make guns illegal and you take all the guns, do you think that these people still aren't going to get guns? They will.
Right.
They're getting them now illegally. Right. We need to put more strain on people accessing these guns illegally. These guns coming into our country that aren't being tracked. These black market things. That's what we need to put our time and money into. Like, if you would mandate that better, the government would make more money off of.
Right.
I think it's just there's so many different little roads to run off on, and there's so many different variants, right? Like, and there's one of those things to where it's like, what adjustments can you slowly make to get the end results you want, versus just trying to cut it all off.
I think it has to be in our youth. You know, we got to start doing something different with our youth. I think we should have and I hate to bring up video games because I know I know as we were growing up there was a lot of controversy about that.
There really was. I mean, you don't hear about it even hardly talked about anymore until someone goes shooting someone. You know what I mean?
Right. And then video games don't really come up with the problem. It's always the gun that becomes the problem, or their mother didn't love them enough, or they weren't held enough, and we really can't stop. But our society is up to that pinnacle that we talked about earlier, where we're kind of losing base of ourselves in the morality, you know, right? Where it would be very uncommon for somebody to lie, where it's very common now, right? Or to you hear about the trafficking and all these other things where we are as a society are really kind of breaking down. We think that we're doing better by taking plastic straws and putting them in paper, or paper straws in plastic now. You know, we think like we're doing better, but we're really not. And we've got to stop, and we got to really look inwardly and go, okay, these are the real problems right here. You know, instead of fighting over some of the stuff that we get so caught
identities, fighting over what you identify as, what party you're representing, you know, so on and so forth. It's just there's not enough. It's we've become united. It's like we've been good, and like, yes, we've been segregated for so long in society, whether it be race, sex, you know, government, what have you. I think we've become more united but secluded at the same time. It's just weird. Just exactly what you're saying. It really is, because there's just a wedge driven, and if we do come together, then someone just wants to come create another wedge to drive in there. You know what I mean? It's just there's always going to be some outside influence that wants to, you know, separate us.
Well, we're going to go back to that 1%. The 1% want to see us divided.
Yes, and it's for good reason on their side. They think it is because we're business. We're business, and we're business. We make money off of you based on all these rules and provisions that are put into place. So we're making money off of you, and we want to continue to grow that profit margin and drive the economy in this direction. But I mean, at what point does it stop, or what point does it radically change? I don't know if we're ever going to be in a scenario like, I don't ever think we'd ever be in a scenario like Korea, to where, you know, we'd be completely taken over. Now, there's a lot of people that say that. There's too many people that think like you do, and like have these conversations and want to have these conversations and care to keep that from happening. I think that nation was just so naive to believe, because it had always been, you know, taken care of, that their government was just going to say, okay, we'll take everything you have and we'll just provide for you. But the youth is being trained differently now, and so that's it. I don't think we have to worry about it. In my opinion, I don't think we have to worry about it in 20 or 30 or 40 years. I'm thinking we have to worry about it in 50, 60, or 70 years.
I would say the average 6-year-old kid now goes through all this stuff that they see, the anti-government, the anti-patriotism, all this stuff. By the time that generation hits the time to start serving, as military, police officers, firefighters, all these things that don't pay much but are highly needed in society, that's their will to want to do. That's going to go. You look at the military now, their recruitment rate's fallen so far low that we're willing to do just about anything
to bring people on. And what's interesting too is we haven't, like, aside from getting in that recent debacle with them, you know, with Ukraine and Russia over there, we really haven't had to be in any combat situations. Like, and I feel like the longer it goes, like, I think we're more worried about cyber attacks and internet, you know, issues between technologies, and not so much someone blowing the other one up. Right. Because if I infiltrate everything that controls your entire society, I don't need to send troops in.
No. Yeah, you know, or they put a balloon in the sky and they set an EMP at that height.
Yeah.
And, you know, and one of those craziest things when I seen that, they was like, well, we don't know what's in it. Like, well, you don't know what it's letting out either. Yeah. And they were like, well, if we shoot it, it could come down. I'm like, look, man, we've been at war for a long time. We could put paintball bullets through that thing and it'll slowly decrease. We can shoot it with BB guns, you know what I mean? And you're not going to make me believe that we couldn't slowly get this down.
No, I don't believe anything anymore. That's the problem. I want to believe all this crazy shit sometimes because it's entertaining.
Right.
Not the stuff that's putting people's lives in danger, but just like the Bigfoot and the UFO and all that. It's just, I want to believe it, but at the same time, I can't believe anything because it's like, I don't know what to believe, I just try to believe what I know,
And that's the thing about information now. You get so much of it. What is the facts of it?
I agree. What I do like about our youth is investigating information more than our boomers.
Oh, yeah.
Because our boomers get all the information. They just believe was immediately what they see, and they'll latch onto those ideologies and run with them because they've been trained their entire existence to just what comes on the news is true.
Right.
So they'll see something on Facebook and they'll go to sharing it and don't even investigate it, where at least some of our youth or people who are like have grown with this technology change and will actually take some time to investigate it.
Right. And you just hope that they're using the right form of the investigation.
Yeah. I want every form. I want you to use every form.
And because if you ask a teenager now what they want to be when they grow up, and every one of them will tell you they want to be a YouTube famous
an
influencer.
They want that is something that is interesting because that didn't even exist.
Right.
When we were growing up, we thought the anchorman at the local weather station was a celebrity.
Right.
So if you wanted to be the anchorman, what I mean, that was what, if I would, equate that to the same look and say, okay, well, an influencer to me would have been that.
Right.
Whereas now anybody can be an influencer, quote unquote, if you just get the right platform and get the right people to follow you.
Yep.
It's scary, man. It's scary. It's interesting times.
It's interesting times. And then there's something that I would like to see Louisiana especially do. I don't know if you know it or not, but it's illegal for kids to have armor in schools.
No, didn't know that.
We're all going to clear backpacks now. And which is
I didn't
sad.
know that. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I'm not up to date on the.
Yeah, so they're requiring kids.
Well, I have kids. We haven't heard anything about the clear backpacks. When's that going into effect? Or is that just certain parishes and stuff?
I know it's going. I know it's happening where I live.
Okay, got you. Okay.
And all my kids have to have clear backpacks next year.
Okay.
And because I work with armor companies, I can get a panel to put in their backpack that'll stop your small arm fire for inexpensively, like $50, $60, $70.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling me, no, they're not allowed to have those things.
How much does that weigh?
I don't know, about a pound.
So not even, so it's light. That's another thing that's, show me some stuff, man. Show me some cool stuff.
So this right here, this will stop rifles.
Okay.
And what I'm
this is about
right now,
an inch thick?
Yeah, it's an inch thick, and it weighs 2.8 pounds.
Okay.
That'll stop 308.
Yeah, and you could easily put that in a backpack or anything.
Right. Well, this is for rifles.
Right,
so
right,
I can
make
this thinner.
But you can make a smaller one and put it, yeah.
And it to the small, and then.
So it's 10 inches, about 12 inches, and it's an inch thick.
Yeah, that weighs 2.8 pounds.
Okay. And this will stop like a 30 caliber?
It'll stop 30 caliber, 5.56,
okay.
7.62.
Okay.
It'll stop just about anything. The other thing we have here, and I'm testing this weekend for HCM armor. This we're hoping to stop the 50 caliber.
Really?
Yep.
So you're gonna shoot with a 50 cal this weekend?
Yep.
Nice. That's a little heavier. Was that like 6 or 7 pounds?
That's 5.7 pounds.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
But as a soldier,
what do they make this stuff out of?
Ceramics mostly.
Really? Okay.
The last plate you took was polyurethane, polyethylene.
Yeah.
Like 8 UHMP pipe or something like that. It's real lightweight, real dense. So it takes a lot. I've shot that lightweight plate you were just holding. I've probably shot it 15 times with multiple calibers, and it still hold up.
That's crazy.
I think that in helping some of the kids is better training to the teachers. Let's say we don't want to give them firearms.
I don't know. Like I keep, like you said that, and I don't want to be on the side of we shouldn't do that. I just think there's a lot of shit that needs to be done.
Right.
And just putting a gun in everybody's hands. I don't know, man. I'm okay with, but at the same time, I'm okay with the right to bear arms. That's where it just puts me in a weird scenario. I just think that, like, I don't want guns, people coming in there shooting. And if a teacher could, shoot a kid who's trying to shoot up the school, I think that's a good thing. But do you try to prevent those from coming to the school at all? You know what I mean?
And there's things like that. So what we're doing with HCM armor is we're going to be able to make this table bulletproof.
Okay.
So, and we'll be able to do it at a cost effective, and it wouldn't weigh as much as it does now.
It's just disturbing to even have this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, that bothers me. It just does, but that's where we're at, man.
Even if they stopped allowing people to have firearms
it's
tomorrow,
still going to happen.
That's going to happen.
It's going to happen. That's what sucks.
The society breakdown and as our society breaks down further and further, I don't think there's a resolve. I don't think there's going to be something where tomorrow morning we're going to become morally just and we're going to be like, okay.
One can only hope.
We can hope, right?
Yeah.
But never in society, if you study history, never has it come back and said, wait a second, guys. Mm-hmm. Wait a second. We've been doing this wrong.
The light bulb went off today.
Yeah. I think the only country that's probably done that has probably been Germany. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But but they were forced to do that. You know, there had to be an outside force going. Okay, no, y'all's shenanigans are over with.
Right.
Y'all have caused quite enough trouble.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like, and I hate to be pessimistic. You know what I mean? Where you take God out of school and we believe God or not, and now you allow to people to talk about, well, let's cut your genitals.
Oh yeah, man. That's a whole other thing, dude. Yeah, that is a whole other thing. Look, none of those conversations should be had with those children that age. Like, you shouldn't. It's just like, that's not the time, place, or environment. Like, you wait till they hit puberty to start trying to talk to them about stuff at least. You know what I mean?
And because when you hit even 18, you know what I mean? Because you're going to make your mind up different different ways.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what my mind was like at 18 years old.
I was an idiot.
I was 100%. And how I'm still alive to this day is beyond me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think we're not going to digress. I think we're going to go. We're hitting this platform. We're ramping it up, and everybody. When people come out, like the first time I ever heard somebody said, "Hey, man, we're going to decommission the police. We're going to."
Yeah.
And you're like, whatever, man. Somebody's going to slap you for being dumb. You know what I mean?
And they ran with it.
And it got so big out there, like, okay, what is the end result here, guys? There's nobody thinking about an end result.
Well, it's just like anything else. The only reason that blew up is because the right person said it, and they had the right following, and the right following just followed them without doing any type of investigation on what that leads to, and they just became a huge chamber of echoes that influence some decisions. Like, that's unfortunate, but that's the power one individual can have. And I don't even know. I'm just saying one individual turns into 20, turns into 200, turns into 10,000, turns into 100,000.
And we're going to go back to anything else where now people don't want to be police because it's no longer cool, or it's going to be shot at. And then now you have to have your head on a swivel, because you're going to be targeted, or as soon as you go to try to do your job, someone's going to try to say you're doing something wrong. Right. And
because they want to get away with doing things that they shouldn't.
That's right. And I think it's so bad now to be a police officer, because when you do something for somebody, or you're trying to do the right thing, and then that gets out of control, right? Now you're prosecuted for it, and then I couldn't do it anymore. There wouldn't be enough money, and because I love doing it. I think it's one of the greatest satisfaction at the end of the day, and it's got to be a lot like. And I can't, like, being a teacher, and I always bring that up because teachers now they have chairs thrown at them, they get cussed at by kids.
See, I didn't know that either. Like, I'm not in a teacher environment, but I've seen people talk about those, and I've seen videos too. Yeah, where those things are happening.
Yeah.
But man, it's just a society. Well, their hands are tied. They can't do anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they do, they lose their job. They lose their career. They can't provide for their family. It's just unfortunate what positions we're being put in because we put ourselves in those positions.
Yeah, and I think it would take a group of smart people, kind of like the people that created the country, to come back together and say, okay, you got to be an adult, or you're out of here.
Do you think that it needs to be a collective, like, do you think it needs to be not just within this country, but within other people from other countries? Because I feel like we're so spread out that just making that decision here is not going to uphold in other areas, because I feel like our influence is everywhere.
Our influence is everywhere too, but we got to be careful what we started this.
Yeah.
We're different than every other country out in the world, right? Now I know that Europe and a lot of these places are kind of following some of the same suit, but we built this country off of our grandfathers and our great grandfathers and all that when we left persecution from Christianity or the Roman Catholic Church and all that stuff. And there was a lot of smart people that built that. When they built our Constitution, when they built all this stuff, for us to go to be meddling with it now, you know what I mean, and allowing people to change it, then what do we stand on? You know what I mean? Like, I got into this argument with a gentleman that said the election got rigged and that we should boot him out, right? And I said, hold on a second. We went by a process to get there, right? If we start changing the process now, right, we're going to lose our footing, right? And we're going to be in sand. We've got to base what we do every single day off of some morality, off of some kind of law. And for us to go, you have people now that's called deconstructionalists that want to see the Constitution removed and go to another form of government.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, man, what we've been doing progressively as we've grown as a society, we've gotten a lot of things right and we've gotten things wrong. But I think removing everything and trying to start from scratch is probably not the solution. I think you just need to go back in there and say, well, what did we get wrong? Right. And let's improve on that. You know what I mean? And what do we get right and what do we know is good? And let's look at numbers, look at real numbers and say, okay, if you do this, what happens here? You know, if you do that, what happens here? We have plenty of evidence and time and stuff to dig through and look at stuff.
And we've done enough research to know that. When they put our Constitution together, they took and made us a republic, right? And they took it off of the Romans. They took a little bit from everybody. So everybody did have input back then when we built this country. And I think now trying to get everybody else's input to try to do it, we want to say that justice is blind, which is no longer blind, right? Because a lot of criminals can get off on technicalities.
It's all a business, man. That's what's unfortunate. Like, it's unfortunate. It's just become a business. Like, you used to get your hands chopped off if you stole.
Right.
But at some point that becomes inhumane because our values increase. And, you know, it's a fickle beast, man. It is. It's like, what area do you attack first? Do you want to play the, you know, slowly penetrate them by, you know, small blows all over the place, or you just want to go with one swift head kick? You know, like, it's hard. I need to see these bullets you got, by the way, before we get out of here, because we're about to have to close this thing out.
And it's something that we're doing too is we're going to create something called the American Tactical Federation.
Okay.
Where that is your 50 caliber BMG.
Holy shit. Okay,
that's not your common round.
No. All right, so this 50, what type of tip is this?
That is what they call a slap round.
Okay.
And that is an armor-piercing 50 caliber bullet.
Okay.
Now, we're gonna talk about something real quick, and this is gonna kind of blow your mind. When some people would say that, you know, hey, this needs to be illegal, this needs to be illegal, and this needs to be illegal. This has never been illegal.
Okay.
Now, why aren't people being killed with these?
Because they cost too damn much.
They're expensive, and the people that actually want these or anything like that are not going to use them for any bad design. Now, trying to make these illegal doesn't solve anything. Because they're not being used in crimes or anything else. Now, 9mm is being used in crimes.
Yeah, because it's cheap.
It's cheap. Anybody can pick it up. Well, there are places in America now where you can't purchase it.
Right.
Connecticut, Illinois now, you can't even go purchase ammo, which is sad to say in America. You can't even go purchase ammo. You can't even go hunting.
In Illinois.
Yeah.
And that's a huge whitetail state.
Yeah. So they're putting a lot of limitations on Illinois and Connecticut. This is used by the military. This is an anti-tank round.
Okay.
This one is the most on this whole table here is the most devastating round that's here.
This is a 50 cal. What is that?
This is a 50 caliber HEIAP. Okay. This is a high explosive. This has a C4 in it.
Okay.
And there's a titanium. There's a tungsten core inside of here.
Okay.
So when this hits, it explodes and it pushes that tungsten core through.
So this is not illegal to carry around as it sits. No. It only becomes activated when it's shot.
Yep.
Got you.
Yep. So again, not illegal, right? But, you know, people would want to tell you that we got to get rid of them. This is a 5.56 EPR. This is the military's new EPR round.
Okay.
That's a steel core jacket on the top, the head of that 5.56.
Okay.
And this right here is a 7.62 by 51 or 308 incendiary round. Now, if you've ever watched any of my stuff, this is my favorite round to use because when it hits you, you turn into a ball of fire.
That's the one that blows up, yeah.
Yeah. That's, again, not illegal, but nobody uses them.
Right.
And they're not used in crimes or anything like that. And here is a armor-piercing round, tungsten armor-piercing round.
Same caliber.
Same caliber. This is from World War II. This is a 30-06 AP round.
Nice.
That's from World War II. This is your 5.7 pistol.
I thought that was a 17.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Looks like a 17, yeah.
And here's your AK-47. That's an armor-piercing round for an AK-47. Now, all these are exotic, very, very lethal rounds, right? Mm-hmm. But 99% of the people that have these things are professional people, right? These exist out in the world, but there's not mass murders committed over these things, right? So it has to go back to saying why, right? Because it's logical people that have them, and they are expensive. I say they are expensive. This is a 9mm incendiary round you can pick up for about $3.
Okay.
It burns at 3,000 degrees as well. This is $2.
Okay.
So if people wanted to do harm, right, there's plenty of opportunity for that.
Yeah.
So we can't say that it's a particular ammo or a particular firearm. It's not an AR. And I'd like to correct a lot of people. Like they want to tell me that AR means assault rifle. What it means is an Armalite.
Okay.
15. It was the 15th generation model that they built. Anything can be an assault rifle. When I talk about firearms, and especially when I do training, I never call it a weapon anymore. Because this could be a weapon. Anything.
Yeah, anything can be a weapon.
Right.
That's written in law. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and so I don't really call anything weapons. I know in the military, when we first got out of the military, you called it a firearm, you called it a weepon, you called it what it was, right? Mm-hmm. But you were also told that blood made the grass grow. Yeah. You know what I mean? and you go to all the interesting places and you kill all the people there. You know what I mean? It's a different mentality.
Yeah. And
I know I worked with a lot of Marines. It was really, really hard with them guys. They woke up, breathed Marine, ate crayons for breakfast, and they went ahead about their day running out in landmines with hand grenades in their hands. They were crazy. They were uncouth. But these things are not the problem. It's the morality, a breakdown in society, and those are ultimately where we're going to go, and that's going to ultimately be the problem. Making all this illegal. There's 421 gun laws in the world, and not one of them's kept somebody safe.
Yeah.
Or from being harmed by somebody else that wants to cause harm.
Yeah, it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. And if that's taken away, they'll just find another way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll find a way around it.
They use pipe bombs. They'll use Tide Pods. You know, they're going to do whatever they got.
Yeah.
And
poison the water supply. I mean, who knows? You know
right.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kill the grid.
Yeah.
But.
Well, cool, man. Well, I've learned a lot today. I'm sure everybody's got, a lot to take in from this. It's a lot, and I agree with a lot of everything you're talking about, and there's a lot of stuff that I have absolutely no idea about, so I really don't have opinion about. I'm kind of here to take it all in, man.
Yeah, and the statistics out there doesn't show, and this is how they did it in Australia and how they did it in Canada. They removed the rifles,
right?
Anything that had over a 10-round magazine, because it's killing people, and they said this, and then a year later, 2 years later, they say, look, it's really not those that are killing people. It's the 9mm. It's the pistols that are doing it. So Australia and Canada both removed people's pistols rights. Now, at any point in time, they could be invaded by another country, or the government could go ahead and take over. And I'm not saying that the government is inherently evil. It just takes an evil person to inherit the government. We always bring up Hitler, but we've had multiple. We have.
Well, I mean, but he started as a professor who literally indoctrinated kids in universities.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have any type of control over a culture, you can do whatever you want to do if you have enough people behind you.
Yeah, they had a thing called a Youth Hitler knife. It was a knife that they handed out to the Boy Scouts that had their emblem on it. the Nazi.
There you go, recruiting already.
Started working with the kids at that age, 5, 6 years old. Starts with getting them up, saying, "Hey, this guy gave me a knife. He cared about what I was doing. He was trying to progress what I was trying to."
He was evil, but his tactics were like off the charts. Like,
he was an effective leader.
Yes, he was. He was just inherently evil as fuck. You know?
And you could imagine somebody that was good.
If someone had that same influence with better motives,
right?
Dude, what could you do with it?
We have 3,396 billionaires in the world, and not one of them is Batman. You know?
No, no shit, right?
Nobody wants to go out there.
To deal with it.
Yeah, nobody wants to get up there and be that good guy.
They want to sit on the yacht, man, soak up the sun and the women and the drinks. You know,
it'll make the world a better place. There's not too many people that are out there that are trying to do that anymore.
Well, I'm glad you guys are one of them, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what you guys do.
And with the American Tactical Federation, what we're going to do is we're going to create a United States sport.
Okay.
Of tactical, using this new system of firearms.
Cool. Okay.
Where you can go, and we're going to have leagues. You'll be able to win money. There's going to be franchises in it.
Cool.
And it's going to take a couple years to get that off the ground, but it's going to be something different. You know what I mean? And people that want to go get trained, they can go get trained. And people that want to learn how to use a firearm properly, we're going to even do a scenario class where we put people in the places of police officers.
Okay.
This is the situation. Would you shoot or wouldn't you shoot?
Got you. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of views and shit talking on that for sure.
Yeah, because people want to tell you all the time. They should have done. They shouldn't have done.
You're going to get some head turners on that. And I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea to recreate any scenario. I really don't, because people need perspective. They really do. And I think every scenario should be recreated where people can literally analyze every single angle, point of entry, point of exit, execution, all of it.
Yep. And it'll give a lot of those people out there that really got this negative persona of police officers.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go after those first and show them, and not tell them they're in a military, or they're in a police or recreation of this, and see how they react. Because I can tell you that they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like it, dude. I like it. Well, any last plugs? Anything you want to mention?
No, man. Just you can find me on Facebook under Michael Danford. You can find us under Ludas Magnus Tactical. We have lost a lot of our accounts because of our Second Amendment thoughts. That was very, very upsetting. And you think you have a freedom of speech, but when you say something, there's a difference between hate speech and speech you hate.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole, man.
I know. We won't go down it.
We'll do that on the next one.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on the show, definitely. And I've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, bro. Nice to have you.
All right.